Hi, Roy here. Thought I'd pop in with a report on a week of reading for June on the Range. June on the Range, a fantastic booktube event that's a month of reading westerns. What could be better? Created by Michael K. Vaughan, fantastic group of co-hosts. I'll link to them down below. And I was super honoured and pleased and excited to be branded as a co-host as well this year. So yeah, great stuff. So I've had a fun week. I've read The Virginian, I've watched The Virginian, and I've also read The Virginian in comic book form. So very much a week of the letter V. And yeah, so Owen Wister's novel The Virginian, here's a Penguin Classics edition, is certainly a classic and probably the first book to pull together a lot of ideas that we now recognise as the Western into a popular novel that was being read by all sorts of people who probably wouldn't pick up a dime novel or that kind of thing. It's like the Western goes mainstream, and really enjoyed it. It shows its origins as having been separate stories that have now been stitched together. That's true, but you know, that's also true of lots of classics actually. Let's see, what did I think? The covers were interesting, not so much this cover, but the contrast between the American first edition, where you see a sort of illustration of a holster, a gun and ropes, and the British one where it's about a woman looking out across the plains. So we're focusing on different aspects really, because there definitely is a romance story that is part of it. So without giving too many spoilers, there's a narrator who goes into Wyoming, becomes a friend of the Virginian, and he's the one telling the stories. There is the Virginian himself, we never know his name, which is cool, who starts off as part of a ranch outfit. And another key character is Molly Clark, who is an Easterner who comes west to be a school marm. There are different kinds of stories kind of woven together. Another thing is comedy. So the Virginian, as well as being dark, mysterious in a sense, you know, you don't know much about his background, and sort of the omnicompetent hero, is also a sort of prankster, so you get kind of practical jokes and tall tales. I think the tall tale aspect very much a Western tradition, so probably the sort of thing Owen Wister picked up on from his research, because he did travel around to absorb things that he could turn into these stories. But it's got action, it's got a feud story, it's got a very dark section as well. So there's lots of sort of variety to things, but it does hold together. And I wouldn't say it's the original Western in the sense that before this there was nothing. Obviously that's not the case. But it's beginning to outline things. It's drawing outlines that lots of other writers have coloured in. The way the towns were, the landscape, the idea of the hero. You know, the way the hero is described is a bit like Michelangelo carving his David statue. It's kind of creating a sort of ideal figure. This place where nature is idyllic, there is space, there is freedom. It's actually described as almost bringing out a natural morality in most characters, because there are villains too, and there are shades of grey. There are people who cross the lines for various reasons of human flaws, and you get psychological insight into the characters as well. There's a lot of depth to it. I'd say the narrator point of view works well, because you've got someone who, like us, has never been to the West. You also get the sort of, well, it's already gone. You know, I'm writing about a time when it was passing away, and now it's gone. So there's that kind of elegiac element to it. Molly Clark's good as well, strong character, although it specifically says she's not a new woman. Maybe she couldn't get the bicycle to work in the prairies. There's also character progression. I like the way Molly brings the Virginian along, sort of getting him to read books, though interestingly he doesn't cotton to Jane Austen. He likes a lot of stuff, Shakespeare, but he returns Emma, so he's not going to survive into Jane Austen July. And it builds to a powerful climax where lots of characters who've appeared in the various stories kind of reappear, so it's a bit like sort of Virginian Endgame, so that's fun as well. So really enjoyed that, and I can see how it was a compelling work that was introducing this idea of the Western to new readers. The comic, so I discovered there was a Classics Illustrated comic. Couldn't afford to buy a physical one, but it's on Kindle Unlimited, so happy days. And that's really good. It's one of the best Classics Illustrated I've read. This was in, 1959. Got a great cover painting. Doug Rosa, interior art, really good. Norman Nodell. And it's pretty much the whole book, episodes from, a page or maybe 2 pages will be a chunk of the book. There's stuff missed out because it's abridged considerably, and we now hear son of a bitch becomes son of a gun. But in the movie it becomes s, so there's a progression of sanitisation. But yeah, the artwork's great, and I thought the that dark section was really atmospheric. So that was fun. I thought, yeah, let's watch the movie. I remember the TV series, which is very different. I mean, clearly for something that's hundreds of episodes long. I mean, the main thing is Trampus is he's the villain of the book, and he's kind of not a villain in the TV show. I don't know why they didn't just name a different character, but there you go. So movie-wise, Joel McCrea, Barbara Britton, and Brian Donlevy is Trampus. He's great as the kind of smiling villain. They're all good. I have to say, Joel McCrea, he seemed a little bit anodyne to me, and it concertinas lots of stuff together. So whereas in the book you see almost a progression from a young man to an adult in the Virginian character, in this he always seems like fully formed and almost middle-aged a bit, but yeah, it's good. It's very faithful. I mean, I thought from the light tone of the early bits they might be going to do the dark section differently or even miss it out altogether, but they don't, so there's some harrowing stuff too. So worth 90 minutes of your eye power. So those were my Virginian V's. Wanting to stick with the V's, I also read Valdezs Coming, Elmore Leonard. Now, Elmore Leonard I know mainly from his crime books. In fact, I read a little extra thing because Roz, from scally-dandling about the book, she wanted some advice. She said she would read a short story. That would be a June on the Range thing. This year, she didn't want lit fic, sort of a piece of lit fic that just happened to have a couple of cows around. She wanted a proper Western. So I thought Elmore Leonard, and I read 310 to Yuma. Short story that's been made into movies. Really good. It's sort of, his writing is so spare, and yet it says so much. You get character, you get the atmosphere, you get the environment. You think, when did all that happen? He's not telling us things, he's not giving us loads of adjectives, but it somehow just all rolls on out and builds a lot of tension in a short story. As does Valdezs Coming, which was turned into a movie. I saw that probably half a century ago. I can't remember much about it, apart from the fact it had Burt Lancaster in it. And Terry Wogan on the TV, on the radio the next day made a quip about has he arrived yet? Because it's a bit of a slow burn movie. But the book, my goodness, what a great I mean, we're moving into the realms of a more serious work, I suppose, in that it deals with racism a lot. So you've got this half Mexican constable who is Bob Valdez, and he pretty much accommodates the fact, he knows he's looked down on, he swallows the insults and just does his job. But he used to be a military man and a very different kind of character. So it opens with a scene where he's essentially tricked into shooting dead a black man, leaving his widow, who's a Native American woman who's also pregnant. And he goes afterwards, goes to people and says he thinks we should get some money together for this woman, not just a couple of dollars. He's looking for like $500. And people aren't having any of it, and it turns nasty, and in the end the different Valdez has to appear, and it becomes a different kind of story. Loads of action, kind of interesting characters. No one's kind of pure sort of evil or pure sort of good. Again, it's like you've got a real sense of place, even though he doesn't seem to be writing, this is what a cactus looks like. You're getting loads of things coming out of it. So enjoyed that massively as well. So the letter V has been good to me here. Next week, letter H with Hopalong Cassidy and Jonah Hex. So back soon with, well, I say something else, back soon with that and other things, i.e. something else.